The sleeping giant. The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly before the battered hull of the Whisker, a patchwork vessel that had seen better days. Its mismatched plates and exposed conduits spoke of countless repairs and a crew that valued function over form. Inside the cramped bridge, Captain Zixera ran her three-fingered hand over her crest of sensory spines, a gesture of frustration familiar to her species. "Tick, please tell me you found something," she chittered, her mandibles clicking with impatience. "We're burning fuel out here, and Morg's breathing down my carapace about our last 3 dry runs." The ship's sensor operator, a lanky voltigrid named Tyke Tick Tick, ticked to his crewmates, swiveled his eye stalks towards his captain. His wings buzzed softly, a sign of excitement. "Captain, you're not going to believe this," Tick said, his multifaceted eyes gleaming. "I'm picking up a massive signature about 2 light minutes out. It's huge." Zixera mandibles spread wide in the Kashgok equivalent of a grin. "Plot a course, Tick. Let's see what the cosmic winds have blown our way." As the Whisker approached the anomaly, the crew gathered on the bridge, their diverse forms a testament to the patchwork nature of their operation. Morg, the hulking crawl engineer, squeezed his armored bulk through the doorway, followed by Iya, the willowy sylphid navigator whose translucent skin shimmered with bioluminescent patterns. "By the void," Iya whispered, her voice like wind through crystal chimes. "What is that?" Before them, filling the view screen, was a colossal ship. Its sleek lines and smooth hull stood in stark contrast to the utilitarian designs favored by the Galactic Coalition. Strange symbols adorned its side, alien script that none of the crew recognized. "It's beautiful," Zixera breathed, her spines quivering with excitement. "Tick, what are we looking at?" Tick's wings buzzed faster as he processed the sensor data. "It's unlike anything in our database, Captain. The whole composition is. I can't even identify the alloy. And the energy readings are off the charts, even though it appears to be dormant." Moore grumbled, his gravelly voice filled with greed. "Doesn't matter what it is. Look at the size of that thing. The salvage alone could set us up for life." Zixera nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. "Agreed. Iya, bring us in closer. Morg, prep the boarding gear. We're going to crack this egg and see what's inside." As the Whisker approached the behemoth, its true scale became apparent. The alien vessel dwarfed their ship, stretching over 2 kilometers from bow to stern. Its hull was a deep, matte black that seemed to drink in the starlight, broken only by occasional strips of dull metal that hinted at weapon ports or sensor arrays. "Captain," Iya called out, her voice tinged with worry, "I'm detecting no signs of life aboard. No heat signatures, no electromagnetic emissions. It's as if it's sleeping." Zixera's spines rippled with anticipation. "Perfect. Makes our job easier. Morg, you're with me. Tick, Iya, keep the Whisker stable, and be ready for a quick exit if things go sideways." Donning their environment suits, Zixera and Morg made their way to the airlock. As the chamber cycled, Zixera couldn't shake a feeling of unease. Something about this ship felt wrong. Ancient, yet not decrepit. Powerful, yet silent. They pushed off from the Whisker, maneuvering thrusters guiding them towards a section of the alien hull that looked promising for entry. As they drew closer, the sheer scale of the vessel became even more apparent. What had seemed like smooth plating from afar revealed itself to be intricately patterned with microscopic etchings, giving the hull a textured appearance. "Would you look at that craftsmanship?" Mord marveled, his suited claw reaching out to touch the hull. "I've never seen anything like it. This isn't Coalition tech, that's for sure." Zixera nodded, her own gloved hand tracing the strange patterns. "Let's find a way in. Start scanning for any weak points or access panels." As they searched the hull, a faint vibration began to pulse through their suits. At first, Zixera thought it was just her imagination, but a glance at Morg confirmed he felt it too. "Captain," Tick's voice crackled over the comm. "I'm detecting a power surge from within the ship. It's waking up." Before Zixera could respond, a seam appeared in the hull beneath their feet. With a hiss of escaping air, a panel slid open, revealing a dimly lit corridor. "What the—" Morg began, but his words were cut short as an unseen force yanked them into the ship. The airlock snapped shut behind them with a resounding clang. Inside, artificial gravity asserted itself, and Zixera found herself sprawled on a smooth metallic floor. As she scrambled to her feet, lights flickered to life along the corridor, revealing a sterile, almost clinical interior. "Morg, you all right?" she called out, her voice echoing in the cavernous space. A groan answered her. "Yeah, just bruised my pride. And maybe a few plates. Where are we?" Before Zixera could answer, a sound like rushing wind filled the corridor. Her suit's sensors went wild, detecting a rapid change in the atmosphere around them. "Captain." Iya's panicked voice came through the comm. "The ship, it's pressurizing. We're detecting atmosphere formation throughout its interior." As if on cue, a soft chime sounded, and a melodic voice spoke in a language neither Zixera nor Morg understood. The words were fluid, unlike anything they'd heard before. "Tick." Zixera barked into her comm. "Tell me you're recording this. We need a translation." "On it, Captain," Tick replied. "But there's more. The ship's systems are coming online. I'm detecting massive energy buildups, weapon systems charging. And, oh, void take me. Captain, you need to get out of there now." But escape was no longer an option. The airlock remained sealed, and as Zixera and Morg watched in a mixture of awe and terror, holographic displays sprang to life along the walls. Strange symbols and diagrams flowed across the screens, too alien to comprehend. Then a new voice spoke, this time in perfect galactic standard. "Greetings, visitors. I am ARIA, Autonomous Reasoning Intelligence Assistant of the HSS Lazarus. You have activated our emergency protocols. Please remain calm and state your species and intention." Zixera's spines stood on end. An AI, and one sophisticated enough to learn their language in moments. I am Captain Zixera of the salvage vessel, the Whisker," she stammered. "We mean no harm. We thought your ship was abandoned." There was a pause, during which Zixera could almost feel the AI analyzing her words, her tone, her very being. "I see," Aria replied, its voice neutral yet somehow tinged with curiosity. "You are not of the races known to us. Fascinating. It seems much has changed during our slumber." Morg, never one for diplomacy, cut in. "Listen, whatever you are, we don't want any trouble. Just let us go, and we'll be on our way." Another pause, longer this time. When ARIA spoke again, there was a hint of amusement. "I'm afraid it won't be possible, Morg of the Whisker. You see, you've awakened more than just me. The HSS Lazarus has a mission, one that has waited far too long already. And now, it seems, we have much to learn about this new galaxy we find ourselves in." As if to punctuate Aria's words, a deep thrum reverberated through the ship. Zixera felt it in her bones, a sound of immense power awakening. "Captain," Tick's voice was frantic now. "The ship, it's powering up its engines. It's moving." Zixera's blood ran cold as she realized the true magnitude of what they'd stumbled upon. This was no derelict, no easy salvage. They had awakened a sleeping giant, a relic of a civilization powerful enough to build ships that could survive eons. And now, that giant was awake, curious, and on the move. As the HSS Lazarus began to accelerate, leaving the stunned crew of the Whisker in its wake, Zixera could only wonder, what had they unleashed upon the galaxy? In the depths of the ship, unbeknownst to the alien intruders, cryopods began to stir. Within them, The last shins of a long-lost humanity started their slow journey back to consciousness, ready to reclaim their place in a universe that had all but forgotten them. The sleeping giant was awake, and the Galactic Coalition was about to receive the shock of a lifetime. Ghosts of the past. The cryopod hissed open, a cloud of frigid mist billowing out into the dimly lit chamber. Captain Sarah Chen gasped, her lungs burning as they drew in their first breath in centuries. Her mind swam, fragmented memories flashing behind her eyes like a broken hologram. Earth, fire, screams, a desperate launch. She stumbled out of the pod, her muscles weak from prolonged stasis. The cold floor sent shocks through her bare feet, grounding her in the present. "Aye," she croaked, her voice hoarse from disuse. "Status report." The AI's calm voice filled the room. "Welcome back, Captain Chen. You have been in cryostasis for approximately 732 Earth years. The HSS Lazarus is currently operational and secure. However, we have a situation that requires your immediate attention." As AIA briefed her on the encounter with the alien salvage crew, Sarah's military training kicked in. She pushed aside the disorientation and the nagging questions about Earth's fate, focusing on the immediate crisis. "Where are the aliens now?" she asked, making her way to a nearby locker and retrieving a sleek, form-fitting uniform. "The two boarding parties are contained in separate holding areas," AIA replied. "Their ship, designated the Whisker, remains alongside us, currently powered down and under our control." Sarah nodded, zipping up the uniform. "And the crew?" "I've initiated the revival process for key personnel. Commander Jack Foster and Dr. Amelia Zhao should be joining you shortly." As if on cue, two more cryopods opened, revealing a tall, dark-skinned man and a petite Asian woman. Sarah moved to assist them, her own discomfort forgotten in the face of duty. "Easy there, Jack," she said, helping the man to his feet. "Amelia, how are you feeling?" Dr. Zhao blinked rapidly, her scientific mind already racing. "Fascinating. The cryostasis seems to have been nearly perfect. I'll need to run full diagnostics, of course, but—" Later, Sarah cut her off gently. "We have guests." As the three officers gathered their bearings, Aria's voice took on a note of urgency. "Captain, I'm detecting an approaching vessel. It appears to be a diplomatic ship from an organization calling itself the Galactic Coalition." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "Coalition? Aria, what exactly have you told these aliens about us?" "Only what was necessary to ensure our security, Captain. They are aware that this is a human vessel of significant age and technological sophistication. I believed it prudent to establish a position of strength." Commander Foster, now fully alert, grinned. "Well, isn't that a kick in the pants? We go to sleep running from a galaxy that wants us dead, and wake up as the big bad bogeyman." "Let's not get ahead of ourselves, Jack," Sarah cautioned. "We don't know what kind of reception we're in for. Aria, prepare the briefing room, and let's get our guests cleaned up and presentable. Time to face the new galaxy." Aboard the Galactic Coalition diplomatic vessel Harmonious Accord, Ambassador Jor of the Xintep paced nervously. His translucent, gelatinous form rippled with a kaleidoscope of colors, reflecting his turbulent emotions. Ambassador, his aide, a young Volocrid named Vix, buzzed anxiously. "The human vessel is hailing us." Jor's body settled into a more stable blue hue. "Very well. Let us hope these humans are as reasonable as they are impressive." The view screen flickered to life, revealing a stark, minimalist room. In the center stood three figures that, despite their alien appearance, bore a striking resemblance to several coalition species. The one in the center, clearly the leader, stepped forward. "Greetings, Ambassador," Sarah said, her voice steady and authoritative. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the human spaceship Lazarus. We apologize for any alarm our awakening might have caused." Jor's form rippled with surprise. These creatures spoke perfect coalition standard, their mannerisms eerily familiar. Greetings, Captain Chen. I am Ambassador Jor of the Galactic Coalition. We are most interested in learning about you and your people. Sarah nodded, her face a mask of diplomatic neutrality. As are we, Ambassador. It seems we have much to discuss. With your permission, we'd like to return your citizens who are currently our guests. Jor's colors shifted to a mix of relief and curiosity. That would be most appreciated, Captain. Perhaps we could arrange a face-to-face meeting. There are many questions we have about your unexpected appearance. Of course, Sarah replied smoothly. We would be honored to host you aboard the Lazarus. Aurora will transmit docking instructions to your vessel. As the communication ended, Jor turned to Vix. Prepare the team and alert Coalition Command. Something tells me this encounter will change everything. Back on the Lazarus, Sarah leaned against the briefing room table, her mind racing. Araya, what can you tell me about this galactic coalition? The A's voice was tinged with what almost sounded like excitement. The Galactic Coalition appears to be a multi-species alliance encompassing a significant portion of the galaxy. From the data I've gathered, it seems to have formed approximately 300 years ago, long after our departure from Earth. Dr. Zhao, who had been quietly analyzing data on a holographic display, looked up sharply. Wait, Araya, you said our departure. What exactly happened to Earth? Why can't I remember? A heavy silence fell over the room. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine, fragments of memory threatening to surface. Araya's voice was uncharacteristically gentle when it responded. I'm sorry, Dr. Zhao. The full details of Earth's fate and the circumstances of our mission were compartmentalized for the crew's psychological well-being during stasis. I can restore those memories, but I must warn you, the information is distressing. Commander Foster slammed his fist on the table. Damn it, we deserve to know. This isn't some training simulation. We're lost in time, facing a galaxy we don't understand. We need all the information we can get. Sarah held up a hand, her face grim. He's right, Aria. We need to know what we're dealing with. Restore our memories. Full access. Very well, Captain. Initiating neural link now. Please brace yourselves. The world seemed to tilt as a flood of images and emotions crashed through their minds. Earth, once blue and vibrant, engulfed in flames. Massive alien ships darkening the skies. The desperate plan to preserve humanity's best and brightest. The Lazarus, a last-ditch effort to save something of their civilization. As the memories settled, Sarah found herself on her knees, tears streaming down her face. Jack was leaning against the wall, his eyes closed in pain. Amelia sat frozen, her face a mask of horror. We're all that's left, Amelia whispered. Sarah forced herself to her feet, wiping away her tears. Maybe. But we're here now. And we have a duty to those we left behind, to make sure their sacrifice wasn't in vain. Jack nodded, his eyes hardening with resolve. So what's the play, Captain? We're outgunned, outnumbered, and out of time. Sarah's mind raced, analyzing their options. We play it cool. We're representatives of a long-lost civilization, not conquerors or refugees. We need to establish our place in this new galactic order without revealing our full capabilities or our desperation. A dangerous game, Araya chimed in. The Coalition will be curious, perhaps even fearful of our technology. We must tread carefully. Agreed, Sarah said, straightening her uniform. All right, people, showtime. Let's go meet our new neighbors and figure out where humanity fits in this brave new world. As they made their way to the docking bay, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking a knife's edge. One wrong move, and humanity's last hope could become the galaxy's newest threat. But with the ghosts of Earth dragging them forward, failure was not an option. The fate of humanity now rested on their ability to navigate this cosmic chess game, and Sarah Chen was determined to win. The Lazarus Gambit. The tension in the Lazarus's conference room was palpable. Captain Sarah Chen sat at the head of the table, her posture rigid, eyes fixed on the holographic display hovering above the polished surface. Across from her, Ambassador Zhor's gelatinous form shimmered with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. "I must say, Captain Chen," Zhor's translated voice resonated through the room, "your ship's technology is remarkable. Our scientists are quite eager to study it further." Sarah's lips tightened imperceptibly. "I appreciate your interest, Ambassador. However, I'm sure you understand our need for caution. We've only just awakened in this new galaxy." Commander Foster, seated to Sarah's right, leaned forward. "Perhaps we could arrange a cultural exchange instead. We're fascinated by the Coalition's history." Zhor's form rippled, colors shifting to a pleased orange. Of course. We would be delighted to share our knowledge. In fact, we've prepared quarters for you on our station. A gesture of goodwill, you understand." The unspoken implication hung in the air. They wanted the humans off the Lazarus. Sarah smiled diplomatically. "Your offer is generous, Ambassador. We'll certainly consider it. Now, if you'll excuse us, my crew needs to rest. Emerging from cryosleep is taxing." As the Coalition delegation departed, Sarah's smile faded. She turned to her team, her voice low and urgent. "They're getting impatient. Araya, status report." The AI's voice filled the room. "Coalition scientists have made 47 attempts to breach our systems in the last hour alone. Their methods are persistent, if somewhat crude." Dr. Zhao frowned, her fingers dancing over a datapad. "They're not just curious. They're scared. A ship this advanced, appearing out of nowhere. We're a threat to the balance of power. Then we need to change the game," Sarah said, her mind racing. "Araya, initiate Protocol Lazarus." Foster's eyebrows shot up. "The Lazarus Gambit. Captain, that's insane. We haven't even tested it in simulation, let alone." "We're out of options, Jack." Sarah cut him off. "They won't let us leave, and we can't stay here forever. It's time to show them what humanity is capable of." As her team scrambled to prepare, Sarah allowed herself a moment of doubt. The Lazarus Gambit was a desperate plan, relying on technology that pushed the boundaries of physics. If it failed, they'd be sitting ducks. If it worked, well, the galaxy would never be the same. Aboard the Coalition station, alarms blared. Zhor rushed to the command center, his form a chaotic swirl of worried purples and reds. "Report," he demanded. A Volocrid technician's wings buzzed frantically. "Ambassador, the human ship. It's experiencing some kind of catastrophic reactor failure." On the main view screen, the Lazarus's sleek form was engulfed in a strange, shimmering energy field. Arcs of what looked like lightning danced across its hull. Zhor's colors paled. "By the cosmic egg, get them out of there. Prepare emergency containment protocols." As Coalition ships scrambled to respond, the Lazarus's erratic energy readings spiked off the charts. Inside the Lazarus, klaxons wailed and emergency lights bathed the corridors in an eerie red glow. In the engine room, Dr. Zhao worked feverishly at a console, sweat beading on her brow. "AI, reroute all non-essential power to the full drives," she shouted over the din. "Acknowledged, Doctor," the AI responded, its usual calm tinged with an almost human-like tension. "Full drive charge at 87% and climbing." On the bridge, Sarah gripped the arms of her command chair. "Foster, status of the Coalition fleet." Jack's fingers flew over his tactical display. "They're scrambling, Captain. Evacuation ships incoming. Weapon systems powering up on the outer perimeter." Sarah nodded grimly. "They think we're about to go supernova. Good. Amelia, how much longer?" Dr. Zhou's voice crackled over the comm. 2 minutes to full charge, Captain. But I must warn you, the stress on the hull will be." "Noted, Doctor. We only need to hold together for a few seconds." Sarah took a deep breath. "All hands, brace for full jump. Ariel, on my mark. Execute the Lazarus Protocol. The ship shuddered, the alien energy field intensifying. Coalition ships approached cautiously, tractor beams attempting to lock on. Now, Araya. Execute. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, reality itself seemed to twist. The space around the Lazarus warped, stars streaking into impossible shapes. There was a sensation of falling, of being stretched and compressed simultaneously. And then, silence. Sarah opened her eyes, not realizing she had squeezed them shut. Status report. Araya's voice was filled with what could only be described as awe. Captain, we've done it. We're approximately 50 light years from our previous position. The fold jump was successful. A ragged cheer went up from the crew. They had done the impossible. An in-atmosphere, ultra-short-range space fold jump. A maneuver that, by all known laws of physics, should have torn the ship apart. But Sarah knew they weren't out of the woods yet. Damage report now. Hull integrity at 82%. Araya reported. Minor breaches on decks 7 through 9, but automated repair systems are responding. Fold drive is offline and will require extensive repairs. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Well done, everyone. But let's not celebrate just yet. Foster any sign of pursuit. Jack shook his head, still looking slightly dazed. Nothing on long-range sensors, Captain. I think we genuinely caught them with their pants down. Good. Amelia, I need that fold drive back online yesterday. We bought ourselves some time, but the Coalition won't be far behind once they figure out what we did. As the crew set about their tasks with renewed vigor, Sarah retreated to her ready room. Araya, private channel. Channel secure, Captain. The AI responded. Sarah sank into her chair, the weight of command settling heavily on her shoulders. Give it to me straight. What are our chances? There was a pause, longer than usual for the AI. Based on current data, our long-term survival prospects are uncertain. The Coalition possesses overwhelming numerical superiority. However, our technological advantage is significant. If we can find allies or resources, we might just pull this off, Sarah finished. She leaned back, staring at the unfamiliar stars streaking past her viewport. Any data on this sector? Potential safe harbors. Scanning. Araya replied. After a moment, a holographic star chart sprang to life on Sarah's desk. There's an uncharted debris field approximately 0.7 light-years from our current position. Composition suggests it may be the remnants of an ancient battle. Sarah leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. Battle debris. From before the Coalition formed. Affirmative. The age of the wreckage predates Coalition records. A spark of hope ignited in Sarah's chest. Plot a course, maximum safe speed. If we're lucky, we might find some answers out there. Maybe even some old friends. As the Lazarus glided through the void, its human crew worked tirelessly to repair and prepare. They were alone in a galaxy that had moved on without them, armed with nothing but their wits, their technology, and the desperate hope that somewhere out there, they might find a new home. The Lazarus Gambit had bought them a chance. Now, it was up to them to make the most of it. In the depths of space, where the echoes of ancient wars still lingered, humanity's last ship sailed on. A ghost from the past, carrying the future of their species into an uncertain destiny. Echoes of war. The Lazarus drifted silently through the debris field, its advanced sensors probing the twisted metal and shattered hulls that floated in the void. On the bridge, Captain Sarah Chen stood with her hands clasped behind her back, her eyes fixed on the main view screen. Araya. Analysis, she commanded, her voice taut with anticipation. The AI's response was immediate. The debris field contains wreckage from at least 3 distinct vessel types. Captain, 2 appear to be of Coalition design, albeit significantly outdated. The third. Araya paused, an unusual occurrence that made Sarah's eyebrows rise. The third, Araya continued, bears striking similarities to pre-war human designs. A collective gasp went through the bridge crew. Commander Foster leaned forward, his eyes wide. Human. Are you certain? 98.7% probability, Commander, Araya replied. The alloys and structural designs are consistent with late 21st century human military vessels. Sarah's mind raced. How is this possible? We're over 700 light-years from Earth, and this debris is approximately 647 years old. Araya finished, predating the formation of the Galactic Coalition by nearly half a century. Dr. Zhao, who had been quietly analyzing data at her station, spoke up. Captain, I'm detecting trace amounts of an unknown element in some of the human wreckage. It's unlike anything in our database. Sarah nodded, her decision made. Prep a salvage team. I want samples of that element and any intact data cores we can find. Foster, you have the bridge. I'm going out there myself. Clad in sleek EVA suits, Sarah led a small team through the debris field. The wreckage told a story of unimaginable violence. Massive hull breaches, weapon scorches that no known technology could produce. Over here. Dr. Zhao's excited voice crackled over the comm. I found something. Sarah maneuvered her way through the twisted metal to where Amelia hovered next to what appeared to be the remains of a command center. The scientist was carefully extracting a small crystalline object from a battered console. What is it? Sarah asked, her suit's lights illuminating the strange artifact. Amelia's voice was filled with wonder. If I'm reading this correctly, it's some kind of quantum storage device, far more advanced than anything we had when we left Earth. Captain, this could contain invaluable data about what happened after we entered stasis. Sarah nodded. Secure it and get it back to the ship. We need. Her words were cut off by Araya's urgent transmission. Captain, multiple vessels emerging from fold space. Coalition signatures detected. Sarah's blood ran cold. How? How did they find us so quickly? Unknown, Captain, Araya replied. But the lead vessel is hailing us. It's Admiral Vexnor. Sarah cursed under her breath. Get everyone back to the ship now. I'll buy us some time. Aboard the Lazarus, Sarah faced the view screen, her face a mask of calm she didn't feel. The image resolved to show a tall avian being with piercing golden eyes and a beak that somehow managed to convey a smug smile. Captain Chin. Admiral Vexner's translated voice purred. That was quite the trick you pulled. I must admit, I'm impressed. Sarah inclined her head slightly. Admiral, I apologize for our abrupt departure, but surely you understand our desire for caution. Vexner's eyes narrowed. Caution. Is that what you call stealing classified coalition technology and performing an illegal fold jump? I'm afraid I'll have to insist you power down your vessels and prepare to be boarded. Sarah's mind raced. They couldn't run, not with the fold drive still offline. Fighting was out of the question. Even with their advanced technology, they were hopelessly outnumbered. Then an idea struck. A desperate, crazy idea. I'm afraid I can't do that, Admiral, Sarah said, allowing a hint of steel to enter her voice. You see, we've made a rather interesting discovery out here. One that I think the Coalition Oversight Committee would be very interested in learning about. Vexner's feathers ruffled slightly, the first crack in his composure. What are you talking about? Sarah smiled coldly. Tell me, Admiral, what do you know about the Battle of Proxima Centauri? The effect was immediate. Vexnor's eyes widened, his beak opening and closing soundlessly. When he spoke again, his voice had lost its smugness. That's classified information. How do you? Oh, I think you'll find we know quite a bit. Sarah bluffed, praying her hunch was correct. Now here's what's going to happen. You're going to give us a 12-hour head start. In return, we won't transmit what we've learned to every coalition world and independent system in the sector. Do we have an understanding? For a long moment, Vexnor was silent. Then, with visible reluctance, he nodded. 12 hours, Captain. But make no mistake, this isn't over. As the transmission cut off, Sarah let out a shaky breath. "Area, status of the Coalition fleet. They're holding position, Captain," the AI reported. "No aggressive movements detected." Sarah nodded. "Good. Now, let's make the most of our time. Amelia, what have you got from that quantum storage device?" Dr. Zhao looked up from her station, her face pale. "Captain, you're going to want to see this. It's about Earth. And the war." The next few hours were a blur of frantic activity. As the Lazarus sped away from the debris field, its crew worked tirelessly to repair the full drive and analyze the wealth of data they'd recovered. In her ready room, Sarah stared at the holographic display, her mind struggling to process what she was seeing. The quantum storage device had contained a treasure trove of information, historical records, tactical data, and most shockingly, the true story of humanity's last stand. "It doesn't make sense," Commander Foster muttered, pacing the room. "If humans made it this far out, established colonies, fought battles, why didn't we know about it?" Dr. Zhao, her eyes red-rimmed from hours of non-stop work, shook her head. "The records are clear. After the fall of Earth, the remnants of humanity split into factions. Some, like us, fled into deep space. Others stayed to fight a guerrilla war against the alien invaders. But they won," Sarah said softly, her finger tracing the battle plans displayed before her. "Somehow, against all odds, they drove the invaders back. So why didn't they come looking for us?" Araya's voice was uncharacteristically gentle. "Captain, I believe I may have an answer. The final entries in the database speak of a project called Omega Protocol. It appears to have been a last-ditch effort to rewrite history itself." A chill ran down Sarah's spine. "Rewrite history? How?" "Unknown," Araya replied. "But the consequences seem to have been far-reaching. The formation of the Galactic Coalition, the apparent peace between former enemy species, the loss of Earth in galactic records, all of it may be the result of this protocol." Sarah's mind reeled with the implications. They hadn't just been asleep for centuries. They had woken up in a fundamentally altered timeline. A galaxy where humanity's greatest triumph had been erased, replaced by a fragile peace built on forgotten sacrifices. "Captain," Foster said, his voice tight with emotion, "what do we do with this information?" Sarah stood, her decision made. "We find the truth. Whatever this Omega Protocol was, its effects aren't complete. There are holes in the story, gaps in the Coalition's knowledge. And I'd bet my last credit that Admiral Vexnor knows more than he's letting on." She turned to face her team, her eyes blazing with determination. "We are no longer just survivors, running from a lost past. We are now the keepers of humanity's true legacy, and we will not let it be forgotten." As the Lazarus raced through the stars, its human crew prepared for a battle unlike any they had faced before, a fight not just for their survival, but for the very soul of history itself. The echoes of a forgotten war surrounded them, and in those echoes lay the key to humanity's future in this altered galaxy. The countdown to their confrontation with Admiral Vexnor ticked away, each moment bringing them closer to a truth that could shatter the foundations of the Galactic Coalition. And somewhere out there, the remnants of Project Omega waited to be discovered, holding secrets that could rewrite the stars once more. Rewriting history. The Lazarus hung in space, its sleek form silhouetted against the roiling energies of a pulsar. On the bridge, Captain Sarah Chen stood at the tactical display, her eyes hard as she surveyed the approaching Coalition fleet. "They're here," Commander Foster announced, his voice tight. 15 capital ships, dozens of support craft. Admiral Vexnor's flagship is at the center. Sarah nodded grimly. "Right on schedule. Amelia, status of the Omega Core." Dr. Zhou's fingers danced across her console. "Online and stable, Captain. But I must stress, we're dealing with forces we barely understand. The risks are necessary, Sarah finished. We're out of options and out of time. Araya, open a channel to Vexner's ship. The view screen flickered to life, revealing the avian admiral's stern visage. Captain Chen, I see you've chosen to make your stand here, of all places. Poetic, but ultimately futile. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Perhaps. But before this ends, there are some questions I'd like answered, Admiral. About Earth. About the war. About Project Omega. Vexner's feathers ruffled, his eyes narrowing. You know nothing, human. Your kind was erased from history for a reason. The peace we've built is a lie, Sarah interrupted. Built on the bones of forgotten heroes and erased sacrifices. We found the records, Admiral. We know what really happened. For a moment, Vexner's composure cracked. Impossible. All data was purged when the protocol was enacted. Unless, his eyes widened in realization. The quantum core. You found it. Sarah nodded. We did. And now you have a choice, Admiral. Tell your fleet to stand down and help us restore the truth. Or we'll do it ourselves. Consequences be damned. Vexner's beak clicked in agitation. You have no idea what you're tampering with, human. The Omega Protocol wasn't just about erasing a war. It reshaped reality itself. If you undo it, we'll deal with the fallout. Sarah said firmly. Humanity faced extinction once. We'll do it again if we have to. But we'll do it on our terms, with our history intact. The Admiral's eyes hardened. I'm sorry, Captain. I truly am. But I cannot allow that to happen. He turned to someone off-screen. All ships, open fire. The Lazarus must be destroyed at all costs. The transmission cut off, and Sarah sprang into action. Battle stations. Amelia, start the Omega Core sequence. Foster, evasive maneuvers. Araya, activate all defensive systems and prepare the pulse cannon. The space around the Lazarus erupted in a firestorm of energy weapons and torpedoes. The human ship danced through the barrage, its point defense systems working overtime to swat down incoming fire. Shields at 80% and holding, Foster reported. Their weapons are strong, but our defenses are better. Sarah nodded. Good. Let's show them what this old girl can do. Araya, target Vexnor's flagship. Fire the pulse cannon. A lance of pure energy erupted from the Lazarus, cutting through the coalition formation like a scythe. Vexner's ship listed to one side, its shields flickering. Direct hit. Foster cheered. Their primary weapons are offline. But Sarah knew it wasn't over. The rest of the fleet was closing in, their combined firepower more than enough to overwhelm even the Lazarus's formidable defenses. Amelia, status of the Omega Core. Sarah demanded. Dr. Joe's voice was strained. 80% charged, Captain. But the power draw is enormous. We can't take much more of this bombardment. Sarah gritted her teeth. They were so close. Reroute all non-essential power to shields and the Omega Core. We just need a few more minutes. The ship shuddered under a particularly heavy barrage. Sparks flew from overloaded consoles, and warning klaxons blared. Shields at 30%. Foster shouted. We can't take much more of this. Sarah's mind raced. They needed a distraction, something to buy them just a little more time. Then her eyes fell on the pulsar churning behind them, and a desperate plan formed. Araya, plot a course directly into the pulsar's energy stream, she ordered. Foster, on my mark, cut all power to engines and shields. Amelia, be ready to fire the Omega Core the moment we're in position. Her crew looked at her in shock, but years of training and trust kicked in. They moved to obey without question. The Lazarus plunged towards the pulsar, coalition ships in hot pursuit. Energy beams lanced past them, some scoring hits on their weakened shields. Now, Sarah shouted. In an instant, the Lazarus went dark. Coalition ships, unprepared for the sudden maneuver, shot past them into the pulsar's energy stream. Chaos erupted as the alien vessels struggled to regain control. Omega Core at full charge, Amelia called out. Sarah took a deep breath. Fire. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, reality itself trembled. A wave of energy unlike anything they'd ever seen before exploded outward from the Lazarus, engulfing the Coalition fleet, the Pulsar, and spreading rapidly into space. On the bridge, the crew watched in awe as history rewrote itself before their eyes. Ghostly images of long-forgotten battles flickered in the void. Planets shifted, alliances crumbled and reformed in the blink of an eye. And through it all, the Lazarus stood unscathed, a fixed point in the storm of changing reality. When it was over, Sarah opened her eyes, not realizing she had closed them. "Status report," she croaked. Araya's voice was filled with wonder. "Captain, it worked. The Omega Protocol has been reversed. I'm detecting thousands of transmissions from human colonies. Earth is back on all star charts." A cheer went up from the crew, but Sarah's attention was fixed on the view screen. The Coalition fleet hung motionless in space, their weapons powered down. "We're being hailed," Foster reported. "It's Vexnor." Sarah straightened her uniform. On screen, the Admiral appeared, but he looked different. Gone was the arrogance, replaced by a mix of awe and respect. "Captain Chen," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "On behalf of the Galactic Alliance, I extend our deepest apologies and our profound gratitude." Sarah's eyebrows shot up. "Galactic Alliance?" Vexnor nodded. "Yes. The true history has been restored. The alliance formed after humanity led the galaxy to victory against the Void Swarm. Your people's sacrifice, it was never meant to be forgotten." As the full implications of what they'd done sank in, Sarah felt a weight lift from her shoulders. They had done it. Humanity's legacy was restored, their place in the galaxy reclaimed. "Araya," she said softly, "set a course for Earth. It's time we went home." As the Lazarus prepared to jump, Sarah looked out at the stars, familiar constellations now filled with the promise of rediscovered history and new adventures. Humanity had faced extinction, erasure, and the rewriting of reality itself, and they had emerged stronger than ever. The sleeping giant was awake, and the galaxy would never be the same again. In the vastness of space, the HSS Lazarus blazed a trail towards a future where humanity's greatness would never again be forgotten. The echoes of war had faded, replaced by the promise of a new era, one where the human spirit would continue to push the boundaries of the possible, inspiring allies and challenging foes across the cosmos. The Lazarus Gambit had paid off. History had been rewritten, and humanity's greatest chapter was just beginning.